Hello and welcome to Africa Today. I am Esther Mokwariola. These are critical times in Africa where growing discontent continue to drive political conversations, often leaving regions on the edge of a cliff with all the ills of ethnic conflict and social fragmentation. In Nigeria, it has been recent months of organized sit-outs, rowdy standoffs, valid agitations, and evolving ideologies as the drums of secessionist agenda by separatist movements gets louder by the day. And so we ask, what are your thoughts on latest developments in Nigeria following agitations for Biafra in the country's southeast region? You can join the conversation and share your thoughts with us on Twitter at TVC News NG. We'll take a report and Africa Today will continue. Welcome on board.
By the end of both attacks on September the 12th and 13th, 2017, the Rivers State Police Commissioner Zaki Ahmed confirmed that a total of 32 suspects had been apprehended. Now these individuals have been brought to court to answer questions for their alleged crimes. The all-male defendants were slammed with more than 15 charges, most of which border on murder, treasonable felony, armed robbery, destruction of property, and physical assault. They are alleged to have committed these offences during the attack on Muslim faithful in Oyibo local government area of Rivers State, which left one police officer dead and properties destroyed.
We have brought an application before the court, telling the court that they don't have jurisdiction and that the matter should be transmitted to the chief judge, where the accused person will be properly charged by the court of competent jurisdiction. And under section 98 and 99 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Law, the magistrate has to remind them not later than 7 days.
A lot of legal fireworks, but at the end of the day, we told the court that yes, really, the court has rights under section 309, subsection 1 and 2 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act as applicable to Rivers State to receive the matter, detain them, and of course transmit the record to the chief registrar for onward transmission to the deputy director of public prosecutions.
Relatives of the defendants have in the meantime accused the police of arraigning innocent persons for the alleged crimes. They further pointed accusing fingers at the police for allegedly embarking on mass arrest after arriving the scene of the crisis hours late. It is unclear for how long these accused persons would be cooling their heels in prison custody, as the Chief Magistrate Court has adjourned the case indefinitely.
47 years after the bloody civil war that engulfed the first attempt of Biafra declaration, the relics of hapless event has refused to go away with a fresh call for secession. The Nigerian Defense Headquarters has now branded the group known as the Indigenous People of Biafra a militant terrorist organization. Joining me in the studio on Africa Today, I have Emeka David, a political analyst and social commentator in Nigeria. And on Skype, I have Dr. Uche Igwe, a doctorate research fellow at the University of Sussex in the United Kingdom. Well, he joins me from Abuja. Good to have you both on the program. Now, let me ask you first, Emeka. What are your thoughts now on the escalating tensions in the Southeast, seeing that it has seen not only injuries and also deaths?
Well, first of all, I have a heavy heart because I am sentimentally connected because I have folks out there. But I'm very, very concerned. I'm very concerned because I live here in Lagos. I have a Lagos family. I'm home here. But I'm concerned about the comments people make on the social media.
Which are?
That seems to brand the Igbos as bad people and seems to actually lend support to the invasion of the Southeast and what's going on there. I rather would appeal that the rest of us Nigerians should actually look at Igbos as any other person. And I say that humans are the same all over the world. No one tribe is bad and another is good. And no one tribe is good and another bad. Therefore, we should face what we are going through as if all of us are involved and be dispassionate about it. My opinion about this whole issue is that the issue of IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu has been mishandled and is now affecting everybody. Let me say this, it's not all Igbos. As a matter of fact, the leadership of the Igbos don't support Mr. Nnamdi Kanu and his IPOB group. Very key. But it is unfortunate, and I have to state the facts. The facts are like, I wish that the Igbo socio-political system was like those in the southwest and the north. But unfortunately, it is not. There is a way mediation takes place in the southeast.
So are you saying the southeast is marginalized in the eyes of government, in the affairs of government?
The issue of marginalization is not even the issue. The issue is how did the Nnamdi Kanu issue, how was it handled? How was it handled? How was the judicial system carried through? Because it's supposed to be a judicial issue. So if he has flouted his bail conditions, it's a judiciary issue. There ought to be pronouncements. And then he has to be rearrested. It's a personal issue with him involved and his group involved. Right now, as I speak, there are five states in the southeast region. And this operation covers the whole of the 5 southeast states simultaneously. It's going to be there for like 30 days, all right, until October 14. And there are other issues involved. So that is my own concern, that the ordinary southeastern citizens, both Igbos and non-Igbos alike that dwell there, are suffering today because of what one man may have done. And these people don't have the right in law to suffer so much. You want to ask yourself, why did the military come in the first instance? Is it supposed to be the next line of action now?
All right, let me hold your thoughts on that, and let me quickly come to Dr. Uche. Dr. Uche, according to Emeka, he believes the IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu issue has been mishandled by the federal government. But what's your position on Nnamdi Kanu and the call for Biafra in the southeast?
Well, I agree with what the earlier speaker said, that the issues have been mishandled. Because I think that, for instance, the military action that is being undertaken is, I spoke to a few people earlier, I think is counterproductive. And the designation of IPOB as a terrorist organization is very hasty. I think that while having mishandled it in the past, there's an opportunity to recalibrate. I think it's important for the Nigerian state to consider alternative options to looking at not only IPOB, the issue of agitation.
So what should be the alternative options here?
Well, the option, in my view, a couple of minutes ago, I read a report from Newsweek in London, quoting former President Olusegun Obasanjo, recommending dialogue. And I think that I wholeheartedly align with him that it is important to exhaust all options for dialogue with these groups before taking a military action. I know the Nigerian Chief of Army, and I consider him a professional soldier, but I think that the response to the IPOB, he is wrong in the response to the IPOB. I think that he should, rather than become confrontational, consider dialogue. I say this because this country is a country where there's a very, things that bind us together, is quite delicate. It is easy to give an ethnic interpretation or sometimes religious interpretations to issues. So I think that we need to tread softly. Otherwise, the whole issue of Operation Python Dance and the response to the IPOB agitation will be given a sort of ethnic coloration, which will make it to continue to escalate.
All right, but
So
the issue in the Southeast, sorry for coming in here, but the issue in the Southeast have been described, or rather the agitations rather, have been described as being politically motivated. Do you share the same sentiments here?
But I don't think that there are very few agitations that don't have political undertone. What is very fashionable is that when things like this begin to happen, politicians will begin to seek opportunities from them. So I would not call it completely political, but I believe that politicians, just like the agitations in the Northeast, even the agitations of the OPC, there are political opportunities around it, and politicians, as who they are, would like to cash into those opportunities. So we will deal with it as it is, regardless of the fact that opportunities would like to take advantage. Indeed, the kind of military response that the Nigerian state is adopting at the moment is going to give more opportunities to politicians to exploit the situation.
All right, that's all your thoughts for now. We need to go on a quick break. You're watching Africa Today, and we've been looking at the recent conflict going on in the Southeast since the declaration of Biafran state. Stay with us for more discussions afterwards. In the last few days, tension in the country's southeast took a different dimension as clashes between IPOB members and the military ensued in Abia State. The Nigerian army recently launched Operation Python Dance 2, an exercise it claimed was meant to combat kidnapping, armed robbery, and other social vices in the region. Now, Emeka, before we went on break, Dr. Uche gave us his thoughts on the military response in the Southeast, calling it, well, it wasn't really handled, the way things have turned out. But recently there was a face-off 2 days back between the IPOB and the military over the alleged invasion of the army in the Southeast, particularly the home of Nnamdi Kanu. Now, this clash has given birth to more or less the conflict in the region. Now, what's your perception on the whole arrangement where the military, seem to be in the Southeast for the sake of combating kidnapping and armed robbery, but now is perceived as targeting the IPOB members and possibly Nnamdi Kanu?
All right. Let me say this very clearly. We live in Lagos. The Bonla case is fresh, and many other cases of kidnap. Kaduna, Abuja Road, risky area. Okene roadside, very risky area. Kidnappings are going on around Nigeria. Robbery cases, civil cases are going on around these places. In the Southeast, that's not an exception. I need to say clearly that the civil agencies like the DSS, the police, have not been overwhelmed visibly for the military to step in. And I think that there is something that we should be doing now. There is a threat. There was a threat. And October 1 is around the corner. And the military deemed it necessary to come to the Southeast. All right? And October 1 is coming. So if they occupy themselves with the Southeast and the Northeast, what about if, God forbid, people decide to revert and make good their promise by October 1.
But the Arewa has come out to say that it's retracted its order.
The point is right now as we speak, that invasion, because is there any proof or information that the home of Nnamdi Kanu is hosting kidnap victims, for instance? So there are things, if somebody wants to give a dog a bad name and kills it, it stirs some things. After that incident, then something happened in River State, all right, and loss of life, and other spiraling kind of incidences and confrontations and everything we are seeing, both footages, in the social media about all these inhuman acts by the military and everything. The sight of that will incite people. If it incites people, for instance, and somebody loses his head and attacks a non-Igbo, you understand? Mm-hmm. It may touch the other people to say, okay, fine, we'll set aside what we had already said. And we can, okay, fine, they're killing our people out there. We can also start killing. Before you know it, the military themselves will not contain what will happen across Nigeria. So there ought to be clear planning. There ought to be thinking through. You know, because there's tension everywhere right now. So I think it is ill-timed. And I think the style is a little bit high-handed. It's because I keep saying this, if we are dealing with an organization that is not an Igbo organization, all right, and we're dealing with one man, then the laws are there, the courts are there. Let the court say you have violated your bail conditions and issue an order for his rearrest. Because it is on record. It is on record that some Igbo groups have petitioned the then acting president that Mr. Kanu has to be rearrested. That whatever happens in the southeast, as a result of his continuous activities, that they will hold the government of Nigeria, kind of responsible. There was no action to that. Nigerians, Igbos have risen, against. They're not supporting the issue of Nnamdi Kanu. So let us not generalize it, because it's not being generalized. As these things are happening, some Igbos are asking, what have we done?
All right, let me quickly come to you, Dr. Uche. Looking at this situation before it escalates, what can be done to douse the tension so that we can have a country unified instead of being disintegrated by what we see now today?
Well, I want to say very clearly that the actions of the Nigerian state is such that it's easy to misinterpret. And I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, some Arewa youth came out and issued a quick notice to the Igbos in the north. They were not arrested, they were not detained, no military were deployed. Lo and behold, there's an Nnamdi Kanu saying and doing something many people interpret as similar. There is military deployment and people are being manhandled. You can see the videos that have leaked. I want to tell you that those actions do not inspire trust. Those actions inspire ethnic and unnecessary ethnic interpretations of what could be a noble intention of the military. So I think the word is caution. Now, I am not asking that the IPOB people should begin to attack the military. I just returned a few days ago from the Republic of Liberia, and I got in touch with firsthand of what war can do to a country. And I think that, our young people, from all the geopolitical zones, they deserve an excursion, to Liberia to know what war can do to a country. So I don't think it is right for the IPOB people to continue to attack the military. It also absolutely wrong for whosoever is making the decision to treat the IPOB people differently as villains and treat the Arewa people who did what I would call the same thing as heroes. So if you want to arrest or rearrest Nnamdi Kanu, why did you not arrest the Arewa people who said the same thing? Is it not the same country? Are we not the same citizens? Some of these actions are the actions that people are interpreting and misinterpreting by the day. And I say very clearly that it is the Nigerian state that giving opportunities for this misinterpretation.
So how can we prevent this tension from escalating so it doesn't threaten the unity of the country?
Clearly is for dialogue at this time. We don't want to begin to dwell in the past. Mistakes have been made in handling or mishandling both the IPOB and the Arewa issue and issues of quit notice and no quit notice. But right now, to de-escalate the tensions is a call for dialogue. I think that all options for a less adversarial, a less confrontational approach to the issues of IPOB should be explored, and all hostilities from the military should cease forthwith so that we can proceed with dialogue and explore options for peace.
All right, Emeka, do you share the same sentiments as Dr.
Yes, I want to say this first. I want to appeal to every southeastern parent. I want to appeal to the youth in the southeast to please pull back to their houses. If you have any business to go outside, carry identification and answer questions to the military, because they're not trained, yes, that's the truth. They're not the police. If they ask you a question, answer them directly. and be as civil and friendly as we can be. Number two, I want to say this. I believe that if you don't want to negotiate, that's why people run to weakly arms and strange show of strength in telling people negotiate. And I want to say this. The southwestern leaders rose up after painstaking Georgia and proffered a solution that will save this nation. We have gone beyond, because the way people are looking at this is that an average Igbo man has no interest in another country. Let it be sounded clear to all Nigerians. An average Igbo man has no interest. You don't want to destroy a structure where your economy relies on. If Nigeria dies, the Southeast don't have, they'll be the large losers. They don't want Nigeria to die. That's the truth. Just like any, we have gone beyond these issues. Like I told you, we allow these things to break down this way, issues. Like I told you, we allow these things to break down this way. It ought not to have done so.
But would you also perceive?
Let us come to that which the Southeast leaders actually told us to do.
Let me bring this here, because some would say that perhaps if the restructuring, debate, so to speak, was put to bear, perhaps we'll be having this kind of situation on ground.
Absolutely. Because let me say this. The Yoruba leaders gave a prophecy. I received it personally as a prophecy. They say something. And I want Nigerians who are wise to read every word they said. They said that if they don't hack into this right now, that a time may come when they will be saying, come to the table. And there will be no table to gather to speak. And they were very clear about how it can be done. If this nation is restructured, because the way it is fragmented is such that development must come from the periphery to the center. Because we had it before, we've tested that, there was development. The universities have been built that cannot be rebuilt over these decades. We've seen the roads built in those areas. We've seen TV stations. We saw development. And the best way Nigeria can go is to start from the hinterland, from the regions to the center, because every Nigerian has interest in the continuation of Nigeria.
All right. Point taken there. Dr. Uche, before we let you go, last words to add to what Emeka just said.
Well, I think that peace is an important condition for development to happen. And I call on my brothers and sisters from the southeast and even the north and all parts of Nigeria to cease hostilities and create an opportunity for peace and a conversation. And I seek and I propose that the military also should cease all forms of hostility and treat Nigerians equally. Treat the Arewa youth the same way you treat an IPOB youth. Make sure that your actions inspire trust and the peace we seek for will happen. And so that the development we all crave for will also happen. So that there won't be cries of marginalization, not from the north, not from the south, and not from the east.
Right.
That is my submission.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Uche Igwe, for your analysis on the show. And also, Emeka David, want to thank you very much for all you've said on Africa Today.
Thank you very much.
Now, between repeating mistakes of the past and averting the misfortunes of the future, Nigeria finds itself embroiled in emerging realities, largely divided in a sense of purpose rather than united rather, in the hope of better days ahead. Present-day agitations should act as a wake-up for the government to urgently restart national dialogue and fast-track the process to effectively address the growing calls for secession. And that is our package for today. But don't forget to join the conversation as usual on Twitter at TVC News NG. And also follow me for updates around Africa at Esther TVC News. Until the next one, I am Esther Mokwariola. And always remember, change starts with you.